And, part of why you're leaving is what's happening, I know, within the Republican Party. You see these numbers that Harry broke down. You know them well. The numbers are worse than they have been in more than 15 years when you look at this for the RNC. What does this mean, Congressman, for the Republican Party?
Well, I think you've got to look at a lot of different numbers. One, Donald Trump is leading in the polls in a lot of the swing states. Two, Donald Trump was behind Hillary Clinton significantly in fundraising in 2016. But these numbers are not good. It is clear that the Republican Party needs to gather steam. One of the differences, I think, was that we had 6 or 7 or 8 at one point primary candidates who were siphoning off money.
Like I said, with Ken Buck, and I think you'll hear a little bit of it here, he is what I would call a Democrat in wolf's clothing type thing, or just one of these never Trumpers, either way you want to put it. Let's take a listen to this for a minute.
Thank you. And I want to go now to the Republican Congressman Ken Buck. He is leaving Congress tomorrow. A bittersweet night for you, Congressman. I'm glad to have you with us and that you're choosing to spend just a few minutes of it with me. And, part of why you're leaving is what's happening, I know, within the Republican Party. You see these numbers that Harry broke down. You know them well. The numbers are worse than they have been in more than 15 years when you look at this for the RNC. What does this mean, Congressman, for the Republican Party?
Well, I think you've got to look at a lot of different numbers. One, Donald Trump is leading in the polls in a lot of the swing states. Two, Donald Trump was behind Hillary Clinton significantly in fundraising in 2016. But these numbers are not good. It is clear that the Republican Party needs to gather steam. One of the differences, I think, was that we had 6 or 7 or 8 at one point primary candidates who were siphoning off money from the RNC's efforts and from President Trump's efforts. So I think you'll see a rebound in President Trump's numbers, but they still are very far behind.
Yeah, certainly are. And I know some of those, Nikki Haley, some of her biggest donors actually have now said they're actually going to be donating to Biden. I mean, there is a schism in your party.
Nikki Haley donors that are now donating to Biden, they never were Republicans. They were always closet Democrats, aka independents or something along that line.
And in part because of how they perceive Donald Trump within your party and also how they're handling President Biden. You, Congressman Buck, have been critical of your party's rush to impeach Democrats, right? I'm talking about plural, right? Mayorkas, Biden, more than one. There was that oversight committee yesterday in the Biden impeachment hearing. At that time, I mean, they had somebody testifying from prison. There wasn't a smoking gun, and they don't have the votes to go through with it. They simply don't. Your colleague, Tim Burchett, said as much. He was very blunt. He said, we're not going to have the vote. And I don't think we ever did. All right. That's an honest assessment by Congressman Burchett. Is it time, do you think, to end this?
Well, I think the investigation is warranted in terms of looking at what Hunter Biden did. I think that we may want to look at laws that restrict the family members of the president and vice president in terms of outside influences. But yes, I think for the part, this investigation has run its course. It may go for another 4, 6, 8 weeks, but for the most part, I think that the evidence has been uncovered, and the damage has really been done. And the American people need to assess exactly what kind of influence was there. But we need to move on. We need to do a much better job of spending bills. We need to do a much better job of funding Ukraine, for example. There are a lot of major issues that we should be looking at. This is a sideshow, and it should probably end in the next few weeks.
And, you know, when you say it's a sideshow and you're talking about important things, Ukraine, you're talking about avoiding another government shutdown. These are things that matter deeply, existentially to this country. And your focus on them, frankly, is at odds with some of your Republican colleagues. And some of them want you to pay a price for it. I mean, you know, if I was looking at things today, I don't even want to play them all, but, you know, they say you play party politics. They say that you're not upholding the Constitution. And then they've come out just before you are leaving Congress and said they're going to kick you out of the Freedom Caucus just days before your exit. They're going to kick you out. Done, obviously, just, you know, petulantly to make a point. I have to ask you, Congressman, and I'm sure tonight is a night that you're reflecting on this. What is going to happen to your party with more and more people like you who are willing to say that important substantive things matter are leaving Congress?
Yeah, I don't think it's good. Obviously, the number of people that's leaving has always been scrutinized. I think now you have to look at the quality of people who are leaving, who are frustrated, who can't feel like they're getting things done. And that's an important number also. My friend Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, what a young, bright, hardworking person who reaches across the aisle, gets great work done, leaving Congress. Those are the people I think that we need to keep in Congress. We need to deal with the...
Well, folks, what they don't tell you, and that's enough on this video, what they don't tell you is that these individuals that he's referring to, I should say it this way, it's always normal that a certain amount of representatives retire, especially when they have picked a nominee. It's pretty normal that you're going to get some that retire. These particular individuals that are retiring have come out in the press really, really heavy against Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. In other words, they don't want to fall in line and do what the will of the voters are. I mean, overwhelmingly, people want Donald Trump as the next president. These individuals don't like that. They're kind of like Mitt Romney, one of these individuals that in their back of their mind, they're going to do everything they possibly can to undermine President Donald Trump. It doesn't matter that the voters want him as the next president. They think they know better. They are no different than many of these liberal Democrats. And that's just the way it is. One other point I want to mention out is when you see reporters, and admittedly, this is CNN, I like to look at some of these liberal networks because I can shine a light on it and tell you clearly exactly how they're lying, why they're lying, and what kind of spin they're putting on it. I know most of you probably figured out yourself, but I still think it's a good idea to magnify it and to talk about it. And you always hear them talk about these Nikki Haley independents that are now going to go ahead and support Biden. That's a lie. At a minimum, it's a red herring, because when you look at New Hampshire and a few of the other states that she ran in and had a decent showing, or at least let's just say she had over 10%, almost all of those voters were either Democrats that were allowed to cross over and vote in the Republican primary, which they should not allow, but many states allow that. You can cross party lines in the primary and vote in the Republican primary if you want to. It just depends on the state law. They should not allow that, but it does happen from time to time. Now, they cannot vote in the Democratic primary at the same time. They have to choose one or the other. But just to embarrass President Donald Trump, that's exactly what they do, is they cross over the party lines and vote for someone like Nikki Haley in an attempt to embarrass Donald Trump. That's all that boils down to. So it's either individuals like that were supporting her, or they were individuals that were independents, but they really are Democrats. Most of the times when you hear someone described as an independent, they are indeed a Democrat. They, for whatever reason, just don't want to caucus officially with the Democrats. But generally, when they get elected to Congress, if they get elected to Congress or the House or the Senate, I should say, or whatever, they almost always caucus with the Democrats. So it's just something for you to observe. Craziness that's going on, and we'll just have to wait and see how that works out. So, folks, we're going to cut it here for the day. It's been right at 1 hour. Appreciate you joining me. Always say, keep that mind free and never give up. And until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.